Mary Queen of Scots is one of the most tragic figures in Scottish history. But in all her tragedy, which do you think was the worst week in the life of Mary Queen of Scots? And how would you have coped with a week like it? If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Behind me is Holyrood Palace. It's the Queen's official residence in Scotland. Of course, 500 years ago, we'd have been talking about Mary Queen of Scots. She'd come back to Scotland and based herself here after the death of her first husband, Francis II, King of France. Now, in spite of religious opposition, factionalism and infighting, rebellion and loads of misogyny, she'd actually done not that bad. I mean, things did start to slide during her second marriage. Henry Lord Darnley turned out to be an idiot and a syphilitic drunk who was complicit in the murder of her secretary and then got murdered himself. But it was only after the death of her first husband in his teens, the murder of her closest confidant, and the further murder of her second syphilitic husband that things started to get difficult for Mary. And if you'll turn around, behind me is the Canon's Gate. It's the first part of the long sloping royal mile from Holyrood Palace here that eventually leads up to the castle. And in April 1567, it would lead to Mary's Septimana Horribilis. Now, what made me focus on this horrible week for Mary was a conversation that I had with Dr. Stephen Reid of Glasgow University. Now, if you're a regular watcher, then you'll know that I like to reward my Patreon members who support the channel by filming much longer conversations with experts. Now, these conversations always make me think about stories that I thought I knew in a different way. If you're a Patreon member, then you can see my conversation with Stephen Reid on the Patreon member site now. If you're not a Patreon member, then you can click the white tab up there to become one and view the growing library of conversations with experts. Anyway, Stephen's the main guy behind a fantastic online course called The Life and Afterlife of Mary Queen of Scots, and it's on a platform called Future Learn. I highly recommend it, and I'll leave a link in the description below. When I met him, one of the things that we ended up talking about was a dinner party in a pub called Ainslie Tavern up on the Canon's Gate on the Saturday, the 19th of April, 1567. A group of 28 Scottish nobles and clergymen met at the behest of a guy called James Hepburn, Earl of Bothwell. Now, Bothwell was actually the main suspect in that murder of Mary's second husband 2 months before, on the 10th of February. In fact, he'd been taken to court accused of the murder on the 12th of April, exactly a week before this dinner. But on the day of the trial, Edinburgh was flooded with Bothwell's armed supporters, and his main accuser didn't turn up to the trial. How convenient. So, exactly a week after Bothwell was acquitted of murdering her husband, Mary's terrible week started, with this prime suspect holding a lavish dinner party for nobles and prelates, at which he presented them with a bond. A declaration for them to sign proclaiming Bothwell's innocence of the murder and declaring that what Mary really needed now was to marry a strong man as soon as possible. And who better than the man so recently acquitted of her own husband's murder? It was ballsy, I'll give you that. It was also ridiculous. There's absolutely no way that you convince 8 bishops, 9 earls and 7 barons to sign a document like that. What? They did? Bugger. The next day, Bothwell heads straight to Lord Seaton's house, where Mary was trying to relax and forget about all the things that have happened in the past 2 months, totally unaware that this week was about to get even more mental than what had gone before, because Bothwell presented his proposal of a proposal to Mary. Now, I can only imagine what it's like for your spouse to be murdered. And I imagine it's a pillow in the face. Maybe a nasty fall down the stairs. Oh, or from a ladder when she's cleaning the windies, eh? Anyway, the point is that even if her pain in the backside second husband's death was a relief, even if the scary bloke who's suspected has always been loyal, apart from that time before she married Darnley when he and his mate were involved in a plot to kidnap her and force her into marriage, but apart from that, he's pretty much always been loyal. The point is that if he came to you a week after getting off with a murder and said, now you need to marry me and I'll take care of you, oh, that would send a shiver down your spine. And when he shows you a document signed by nobility on whom you depend, confirming that they're behind him, that shudder just reached your sphincter muscle. Once Mary had pulled herself together from the shock, she politely declined the offer due to impropriety so close upon her husband's death. And then the next day, she headed for Stirling Castle. This was a nursery for Scottish royal children, and Mary's son James was here in the custody of the Countess and the Earl of Mar, the governor of the castle. Now, once before, Mary had taken the child from the castle to be with her when that syphilitic, drunk second husband had made threats. You see, if you were the monarch, you'd feel just that little bit safer if the heir to the throne was with you. If you're in any doubt about the risks of the heir to the throne being in the custody of somebody other than the monarch, then check out my video on how James IV came to the throne. Or just keep watching this one. You see, the Earl of Mar refused to let Mary take her own son with her away from Stirling Castle here. Can you see it? A mother being told by social services that no, you can't have custody of your own child. You've made some terrible life choices. You may have been involved in your man's murder, and your neighbours tell us you've been on the gin. But you have to give me my boy. Yesterday, the guy who probably did kill my husband said that I have to marry him. Not only that, the day before that, he got the backing of a bunch of the nobility to do just that. I have to be with my son and... Hold on. Are you on their side? How does it feel that this week's going? The next day, on Wednesday the 23rd of April, she left Stirling to head back to Edinburgh without her son. Along the way, she fell violently ill and spent Wednesday night here at Linlithgow Palace. On Thursday the 24th, she set off again. Now this is the River Amon that runs through West Lothian into the Firth of Forth. The bridge that I'm on crosses it about 100 yards west of the Golgar Burn. Before this was in a flight path to Edinburgh Airport, we're told that when Mary arrived at the bridges over the Amon, not far from the Golgar Burn, Bothwell arrived with a force of 800 men. Now, while some of her company protested, Bothwell took Mary's horse by the bridle and claiming that Edinburgh wasn't safe and he was doing this for her benefit, he abducted her, skirted south round Edinburgh, and by midnight she was locked behind the barred gates of Dunbar Castle, shut in by Bothwell's men as Bothwell raped her. Now, I know there's some debate about the level of consent for this last bit, but the number of historians that have come down to this conclusion is certainly enough for me. An event like that would be horrific to report to the police in 2021. In 1567, when you're the Queen, you are the police, locked behind the gates of a castle with the guy who may have killed your husband and has signed and documented support of much of your nobility. The illogical morality of the times was that for the sake of her honour, she now had to marry her abductor, just as he'd convinced the nobility she should do less than a week before. Now, I don't know about you, but if Mary had a worse week before her death 20 years later, I can't imagine what that would be. It was because of this week that she married Bothwell. It was because she married Bothwell that her nobles, some of whom had signed the bond supporting that marriage, stood against her at Carberry Hill. It was because of that she was imprisoned in Loch Leven, then escaped, lost the Battle of Langside and fled to England. Of all the tragedy in her life, this must have been the worst week that Mary Queen of Scots spent in Scotland. If you'd like to find out about the last week that she spent in Scotland, I've got a video about that coming up on screen now. In the meantime, ha' mi an dochas gwn be lam alive. Cheery and rasta.